again, we're back from Gen Con. So we had a really awesome time at Gen Con. We saw a lot of really great stuff and played some really fun games, and we're going to talk about some of that today.
One of the best parts of Gen Con for Dawn and I was the playtest room. There's a really great company called Double Exposure Incorporated, and they have a room set aside in Gen Con where aspiring game designers can come and showcase what game they had. Some of them are brand new game designers, others are new versions of existing games that are out there, and that was a really fun time for us.
You went in and they gave you a number, and then they called off numbers and you went and picked the game. So you kind of didn't know what exactly you were going to be playing going into it. Every single game we played was really fun. One of the things I liked most about the playtest room was getting to talk to the game developer.
Talking to the game designers was great because they were always really excited because the game wasn't finished yet, so they weren't trying to sell you something. They really wanted your feedback on what you thought. Don was saying you picked a number, so it was kind of a lottery system, but they also would have moments where they would come forward and they'd say, hey, we really need couples that want to play a game, or we really need single moms with children under 5. We want to make sure they can play the game, because they'd want a specific point of view for one of their run-throughs of the game.
One of those times that we went in, they asked for female gamers because they wanted to have an all-female role-playing session. And at this session, I got to play Ragnarok Fate of the Norns. I got to play a new version that they're still testing out. I really, really like the game. It's a little different because it exists in kind of the Viking world. Instead of using dice, you use runes. That really tied in the world of the game into the mechanics of the game. And it took a little bit to get used to, but I could see how it would be a really fun way to play a Viking campaign.
Some of the other great games we played while we were in the test room that you should be on the lookout for, because they're going to be really fun when they come out. One is a game called Thunderscape. It's got one of the designers from Legend of the Five Rings, and they bought the rights to a property that was in existence, but they've created this amazing new world with races and classes, and it'll be cross-compatible with a number of other systems that are out there, including Pathfinder. So that'll be a great way to just plug into an existing system where you already are familiar with the rule sets, and it seems like a lot of fun. There's a great iPad game coming out called Druid Duels. Not what we were expecting at all. We just picked it at random and were very surprised when it was a computer game. But it's a lot of fun. And there were a lot of really fun games that we got to play out on the vendor floor. It's crazy, and there's thousands of people, and there's costumes, and people are literally acting as barkers for their store, but it was a lot of fun. And one of the games that we got to play that's coming out in October, I think, is the Firefly board game. It's great. There's a number of players around the board. The verse is the map. You go from different planets and moons, taking up jobs for characters like Niska, and wanting to do things like the train job or different little missions. There are story cards that move the game forward. Now, out on the floor, we didn't actually use those. It was kind of a rotating thing to keep the game moving. So I'm sure that that will be an interesting part of play. It's just not something we were able to do. The artwork for the Firefly game is beautiful. The money is really intricate. All of the cards are really great. You keep track of whose turn it is with a little dinosaur figurine. It's a beautiful game, and it's a lot of fun.
Another game we got to play is Evil Baby Orphanage, and the idea for this game came from the Vlog Brothers. It's a really fun game. It kind of has a similar feel as Munchkin, where there is a little bit of keep the other player from winning so that you can win. It's a really fun game, and the artwork is adorable. How all these historic figures are depicted as babies, their baby form. It has a lot of references to various series that have time travel. So Doctor Who,
Back to the Future,
mm-hmm.
and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yes. It was really fun. We played it back in the hotel room and didn't realize how long it would take. But we had so many babies out on the table, and it got a little ridiculous, but it was definitely a lot of fun. You should check it out if you're into games like Munchkin, or if you're looking for a fun way to kind of introduce history to your kids.
A really fun, quick game that I picked up is called Straw, and it's really funny. There's a camel card, you play cards on top of it that have different weights, and you literally are trying to break the camel's back. It goes really, really quickly, and it's pretty goofy, so check that out as well.
While we were checking out Catalyst games, we got to check out Crossfire, which is a new Shadowrun card game. It's coming out later this year, and it was a really fun game to play. I was a little hesitant because usually I'm not into card games as much, but this was really well done in how everyone cooperated on the mission. Everyone had their own role to play, and had different abilities and different advantages and disadvantages, and it was really everyone playing against the game. We did one round, and I think it's usually 3 rounds. It played through in maybe 10 minutes and was really quick, and that was us learning the rules too, so it'd probably go a lot faster. So I'm really looking forward to that coming out and getting to play more in the Shadowrun universe.
To finish out our discussion on card games, I want to talk about a really fun one called The Werewolves of Miller's Hollow. Now, we've played it before with about 6 to 8 folks, and it's just fine. Basically, everyone in the circle, you're all a part of a town. Some of you are werewolves, and you're trying to kill the rest of the town members. Town members are trying to discover who the werewolves are. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of bluffing and strategy and things like that. We were a part of a 25-person game. They were introducing characters that we had never even heard of.
I was the Elder, which I had never heard of, and had no idea what the Elder's ability was until I got killed off by the werewolves, and we discovered that if the townspeople had killed off the Elder, all of the townspeople would have lost their magic abilities. So I was like, I'm so glad the werewolves killed me, and not the townsfolk.
As some of the townspeople, like Don was saying, had special abilities, like a fortune teller, or the lovers, or Cupid, or things like that. Again, if the Elder would have died at the townspeople's hands, all of those special abilities would have gone away. Now, it ended up pretty fun. I got to be a part of the winning group. I was one of the werewolves. I was also the sheriff. And I turned in one of my other werewolf buddies so that I could say, I'm not a werewolf. If I was a werewolf, why would I have sold him out? And eventually we turned everybody in the town, and so I kind of got to win. The Werewolves of Miller's Hollow. Check it out, especially if you have a large group of people. It's a pretty quick play. Even with 25 people, I think the game only lasted about 30 minutes. If you've got 6, 8, 10 folks, you can get through a round in around 10 minutes or so. It's pretty simple.
With conventions comes cosplay. And we dressed up in cosplay several days. I think you dressed up.
I ended up cosplaying every single day. I had planned on having one day off, but a friend of mine had a perfect tan trench coat, and so my last day I ended up going as Castiel from Supernatural, and I think it was one of the most well-received costumes that I had, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we walked into the convention center that day, and there was somebody in a Weeping Angels cosplay, and we're like, oh, we have to get a picture with them. This is awesome! And then she turned around and saw Ryan in the Castiel costume and was like, oh my god, I have to get a picture with you! And it was this awesome moment of us geeking out over what she was wearing and her geeking out over what Ryan was wearing.
We had a lot of fun with cosplay. There were some people there that were definitely way better at it than we were. There were some people there that all they did was they kind of threw on a t-shirt and maybe a little bit of makeup, but they were still having a lot of fun. Now, for us, we're not competing. We put a lot of time into our costumes, especially our Shadowrun costumes. Dawn, our friend Tucker, and I went as characters that we actually play in our session. But even with that much time put into it, it was just a lot of fun. And I think really that's what's important in cosplay. Do it because it's something that you really enjoy. And if your costume isn't perfectly matched to what's on the comic book page or what's in that scene from the movie, who cares? If you're not exactly the same build as the person that you're going as, nobody should really care. And if they do care, let them. You have a really good time. It was a lot of fun, and I think it's something that we definitely got bit by the bug. We're going to keep doing it all of the other cons that we plan on going to.
The thing about cosplay that was really fun for me was that moment when you make eye contact with somebody else and they get what you're wearing, and there's just an unspoken exchange of like, oh, that's awesome!
That was spoken.
Well, that was spoken, but that's conveyed in facial expression or thumbs up, anything like that. You know, little kid running up and being so excited because she found the doctor in River. Just being able to geek out about it and really get to be that character that you love so much.
So Gen Con was a lot of fun for us. It was exhausting. We were really tired. And it's not the cheapest of things to do, but it also doesn't have to be super expensive, especially if you look for really good deals, maybe make some of your purchases on the last day of the con, and just go to have a great time. Try new games, try new things, make new friends. The cons are a great time. And who knows, maybe we'll see you at next year's Gen Con or at one of the others that are upcoming. If we're going to another one anytime soon, we'll make sure to let you know. If you see us, say hey.
Thanks for joining us again. We just started playing Savage Worlds. It's a new system for us.
It's a lot of fun, especially because it's not tied to any one genre.
And we're thinking about filming a session so that you can see what it's like playing that game.
Also coming up, look for me and Dawn to do some fun side projects on our own. We're calling them Roll for Initiative Side Quest. Coming up soon, you should see one from me about a really fun new game called Soul Forge. So stay tuned for that.
Thanks again. I'm Dawn.
And I'm Ryan.
And this has been Roll for Initiative.